Welcome back to Going Ultra Season 2, where I'm talking about Ultraman Episode 11, this time anyway. So, I have some notes that I wanted to go through. I have really 3 notes, but I also went ahead and took the time to do pictures this time. So, I'm going to be, mostly talking over the pictures, but some of them I'm going to focus on. Actually, there's 2 video clips I wanted to talk about specifically, so we'll get to that in a minute or two. So the first thing I really wanted to take note of is the merits of tough love. Moriboshi sets the firmest of boundaries with Seiji. So in the course of the episode, Seiji ends up fighting with Shinjiro to prove who is the real Ultraman. Which this concept of the real Ultraman, being a thing, something that's come up before, and Seiji obviously has his own plans, and we don't really know what they are, but they involve him getting in with the Science Patrol in order to secure, funding, support, backup, whatever, to maintain his suit so that he can continue being Ultraman for some greater purpose. He brings up very interesting, very valid points about Shinjiro being privileged and not really understanding the same struggle that he's gone through. Some of what he said sounds like things that Moriboshi has said. Moriboshi has kind of challenged or given a hard time to Shinjiro about him struggling with being Ultraman, especially because to Moriboshi, being Ultraman means being willing to kill aliens when they beg for mercy and for you to stop, even though that they've done terrible things, and committing to that and going ahead and executing them, killing them, which is different from murder, but just throwing it out there. So that's interesting to me, that Seiji and Moriboshi are so similar to one another, because one might not expect that. But it's interesting because their similarities put them in distinction to Shinjiro, and maybe their differences with Shinjiro even put them closer to being on the same level as one another. Not so much for as far as like their temperament and the way they see the world and wish that the world operates or were to operate. Seiji sees things in very black and white terms, like I'd mentioned before, and he is content to enact violence upon people in order to punish them and to enrich himself so that he can continue to do more greater good. I believe that Moriboshi similarly is interested in terminating aliens who step out of line for the greater good. I believe his interest is primarily in seeing that humans are not hurt by the existence and participation of aliens in human society, whereas I think Seiji is really fighting on behalf of the aliens so that they can have a place in society. So it's almost like they're coming at things from opposite sides. From opposite sides of the matter. Like two sides of the same coin, that kind of thing. But what's more interesting to me is that the strength and the power and the willingness to unleash violence that Moriboshi embodies is something that we see in Seiji, and I think it's something that Seiji respects in him. And coming from the perspective of a parent, I wanted to talk about punishment and things like that. And I mentioned tough love in at the top of this section of my discussion of the show, and I have 3 children who all act, 2 of them act very similarly to each other, but it's partly their youth, and one who's very different from them. Each kid presents their own set of unique challenges, and my wife and I have chosen to utilize attachment parenting, so we don't want to yell, we don't want to punish, we don't want to be physical with our kids. I'm not saying we're perfect, but we also don't think it's a good idea. And if we ever tread into that territory of yelling or hitting or threatening or whatever, it's obviously, or it's something that we feel badly about and that we wish to stop. And I'm just being honest because it happens sometimes, unfortunately. The good thing is, though, that we have enough restraint and empathy that we're able to, stop each other, and the kids are even, they'll say something and, stop us from being so mad at, one of their siblings. That being said, my wife and I will frequently lament to one another that it seems as if the children need us to spank, punish, whatever, which we think is not true, but it's just, being how we were raised, with yelling and hitting and punishment and things like that. It's one, natural, and two, when all of the nice methods are not working, it seems like it's possible that you have to be mean or, go the opposite of that, in order to achieve your goals, which sometimes the truth of the matter is that the only way to win the fight, but what is this, war games? The only way to win is to not play the game. Like, you can create power struggles with a child or any individual, and it takes a measure of humility to back down from that struggle, that needless fight that you have created, and that's often what we find we need to do. That's not what happens with Moriboshi and Seiji, though. Moriboshi comes in, he fights and bests Seiji. He cuts off his left arm, which, ding, 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 that's another, I think we're at 4 left arms amputated now. And then he tells him, if I decide it's my duty or the time to terminate somebody, I terminate them, and, human or alien, make no mistake about it, they will be dead if I decide that's what to do. And it leads us to a great moment that I want to talk about, but will I have to? Oh, no, this leads me right into my other note. So I'm going to go ahead and set up the clip so everybody watching the video version can see, and then if you, I don't know how well you'll be able to hear it on the audio only, so we'll see what happens. So unfortunately, when I originally recorded this, I did not have my volume set loudly enough, so it'll be really quiet. I tried turning it up, but you'll just have to turn it up in a couple seconds. Okay, so again, sorry about how quiet that was, but look at Seiji. He is shook. The boy is shook, and he, I think, maybe has a new level of respect. You know what? I don't know what this face means, what this interaction has done to him overall, but it was funny. I was thinking about inflection points this morning. I won't really go on to it, but I feel like this is an inflection point. This is a turning point in this young man's life, where maybe something about the nature of power and use of violence has been revealed to him through this interaction. He really thought he was going to die, and I think that's really interesting, and I think that's really satisfying, not because, I want him to, be afraid of dying. Of course, he's not a real person, but it's really fascinating to me because of how this character obviously didn't have the fear of death in them before, and Moriboshi saw to it that it's there, and it changes him, and I'll be interested to see how he'll act differently in the future. Now that I'm done talking about that, I want to transition to something else, and I'm going to run that clip again so you can see, and I want to talk about it, and I will tell you this. Well, yeah, I'm not going to spoil it, so I'm just going to go ahead and run the clip, check it out, watch closely for the emotion, and tell me if you think Seiji is scared in this scene. You can put that in the comments if you want, because I sure think he is, and I'll explain why, and why I think it works so well.
I terminate them, even if they are human.
Okay, now buckle your seatbelts because I'm about to talk about why I love Tokusatsu so much. My preference for Tokusatsu and practical effects over the use of CGI to convey emotions is tremendous. That is my preference. Seiji's fear read perfectly through his Ultra mask. His gasp, the fact that the camera zoomed in on his face as if his eyes were opening even more, the cut to Shinjiro under the mask like in Favreau's Iron Man, and Moriboshi's deadly serious body language and dialogue all work in concert to sell the dread of death overcoming Seiji in a more natural and less distracting way than the eyes on his mask cartoonishly emoting. Now, I won't belabor this point. I'm just going to come out and say the true motivation behind this. I really hate how the Tom Holland Spider-Man's mask eyes move, and that part of his spider powers is his vision sucks and it has to be adjusted or whatever. I don't like, anyway, I don't want to get off on that tangent, but I don't want to, this is not worship or Japan, what do they call it? Not ography. Anyway, I'm not worshiping Japanese and what they do. But like, probably because they've been making tokusatsu for decades, they know how to convey emotion through a suit, and I think it's fabulous, and I love how they're able to do it. And I mentioned there's the Favreau type Iron Man shot of Shinjiro, which is a new thing, and it's something that you see in Kamen Rider O's. There's a Birth Rider there, or Kamen Rider Birth, who uses that same effect where they make it look like Iron Man, and other subsequent writers have done that as well, off and on at different times, and depending on which show it is. And that's great, and that obviously you get to see the actor's face, but really I think the blending of everything is something that Tokusatsu does so well, and it's so special. And this is animation, but it's done in the Tokusatsu style, where, I mean, they could have had his eyes widened, they could have cut through and showed Seiji's face, but they didn't. They chose to use the mask like they would have shot it, and I really appreciate that. I really like that, and I think it's way better. I understand that in the Spider-Man cartoons, his eyes have widened, and even in Spider-Verse, like, they totally emote, but and I love Spider-Verse, but I think it's lame, and it's a crutch, and I don't like them doing it in the live-action movie. They can do it in Spider-Verse, I guess, but it bothers me a little, but definitely not in the live-action. I think it's lame. Do it better. Do it like Toku.
You know her very tempting. You may even think you have an actual shot at dating her. However, if you slip up...
I found the comedy in this scene of, I think, the Ultraman psychically linking together, much like Guyver 1 and Guyver 3 did in the Guyver anime and manga and whatnot, which I don't know if that's actually what they're doing, but if it is, even if it's not, I'm glad that they made them psychically connected, if only for this joke and this gag and this bit, because it's hilarious. I love this dub actor. I can't remember his name. Ian, something like that. He was Akihiko in Persona 3. That's where I know him from. And I like him, and I think he's great here. It's just so hilarious. The show is playing it for laughs. They're putting this super tense music. Shinjiro is sweating. It's just really good, and I love Moribushi. I really thought I was going to dislike him, but I do love the guy. Anyway, I'll pivot from that to talking about the fact that I really enjoy Rena figuring out Shinjiro's Ultraman. I thought it was really cute, especially when she expresses her gratitude and understanding for what the new and old Ultraman have done. And I even think she puts it together that maybe Shin Hayata is his dad, or his dad is the original Ultraman. I don't really know, but it was cool that she expressed the gratitude and that she's like, yeah, I know Ultraman was trying and it was selfish of me. And he's like, oh no, but yeah, it's okay because you're hot. I mean, you're a human. And she's like, no, that's what Ultraman would say. And then him leaving his phone and stuff. It was really cute, and I love how it played out, and I really enjoyed it. So I'm going to wrap up real fast here. I mentioned inflection points because I was just thinking about how to, talk about shows. But, this is a turning point in the show. Things are changing. Things are happening. New characters are being introduced. And old characters who we've seen for a while are being redefined. And we're seeing new stuff. Ben Mular wants to take on the Star Cluster Council. And Tech Dad over here is willing to help him, it seems. And I don't know what that means. Is the Star Cluster Council evil? I don't know. Are they connected to the Zeton race, which Edo is? Is he actually evil? I don't know. I was thinking about this, if you were a Nazi or anything like that, why wouldn't you ingratiate yourself to your conquerors and then maybe sow a plan to take them out later in the future by gaining their trust and becoming one of their best-known confidants and people who helps them out with stuff? And I wonder if that's what position Edo is feeling. And I'm very curious about that. So anyway, even if that turns out not to be true, I'm still super jazzed about where the show's going, what it's doing, and how just how good it is. So I'm loving this show. Anyway, visit mjmunoz.com for all my other stuff. I've got other podcasts up there. I've got the original Going Ultra Season 1 up there, which covers SSSS.Gridman. You can support me on Ko-fi. The link is ko-fi.com/mjmunoz. You can see the other stuff I'm working on. You can check out on this channel my G Gundam show, as well as... another Rider cast, which after this show, after Going Ultra's over, after I've done it in a couple days, I will pick up the pace on that and finish another Rider cast talking about a bunch of Kamen Riders. Ciao!